What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you guys are having a great day so far. In today's video, we're going to be doing a ultimate tier list for all the free champions you can get in this game up until this point. For the purposes of this tier list, the word free does not mean free login champion or any kind of champion that you can no longer get. So we're not going to include fusions. We're not going to include login champions. We're going to be talking strictly about champions that you can get in this game as of today for free as you progress through the game. So anything in the game that you can get from progression, I will count as free and part of this tier list. So like I said, guys, no login champions from the past that you can no longer get, no fusions and all that, no guaranteed champions or anything like that. Now, I think this is going to be a pretty fun one because it is a trip down memory lane for myself, since it has been many years since I've played with some of these champions. But with many years of experience and multiple accounts free to play, I can share with you guys my experience and let you guys know how I use them and where they can help you guys progress in your accounts. Anyways, guys, with all that being said, if you guys enjoy the content, make sure you guys leave a like, a comment, and make sure you guys subscribe for more future content. That would be greatly appreciated. With all that out of the way, let's jump right into it. So we're going to be using the index here, and I'm going to be playing around a little bit with the formatting, but we are going to be using this type of formatting. We'll show the tier list at the very end in a bit larger setting. But for now, I want to show you guys the champion and talk about the champion as well as go through the tier list at the same time. So with all that being said, let's get started here. Our first champion up for grabs is going to be Athl. So Athl, he is a demon spawn champion, and he is the second Doom Tower reward that you get for clearing the normal secret rooms. He's an epic, he's a solid champion, and he provides HP burn AoE. Not 100% chance or anything crazy like that. He is just an epic, but if you guys are missing an AoE HP burner, he is going to be your guy here. He also has some applications in soloing spider dungeons, so definitely very useful there as well. He's a good champ, and the biggest thing about him is that when you guys get him, he's going to be your guaranteed that you actually have an HP burner on your account and can help you guys out in Spider if needed. For me, he does have his uses here. We'll quickly go over the tier list here and how I'm going to grade some of these champions. And for Athl, when he was first introduced, he's actually a pretty decent champion, but since, over the years, he's been power crept a little bit. You can still kind of use him for Spider, which is totally fine. So I think he does have some use, and he is an okay champion. So he's going to be in the B class tier for me. Moving on to our next champion, we have Arbiter. So Arbiter is part of obviously the end prize as the Arbiter missions. There she is. She is one of the OG arena defining meta champions. Good base stats overall, 110 base speed, makes her pretty quick. And of course, she's known for a big speed aura and her big turn meter boost with the plus attack here on the A3. Very, very strong champion. She also brings a team revive, which also helps you as you're progressing through dungeons and all that stuff. Definitely worth it even today in 2025. Now, where does she rank on this tier list? For me, Arbiter is still S tier as a free champion in this game, mainly because she is still used to this day. Over 6 years old, and she is still used today in the live arena settings. One of the best turn meter boost champions paired with the big speed aura here makes her very, very useful. And yeah, for me, still part of the S tier, best in class for the login champions or free champions in this game. Up next, our next champion here is going to be Archmage Helmet. So Archmage Helmet here, he is an epic from the Banner Lords, and he is the first reward champion that you get by clearing the normal Doom Tower secret rooms. Now, this guy is an absolute stud. I used this guy to clear a lot of the Doom Tower waves, hard Doom Tower back in the day. He brings AoE stun, which is very good on a 3-turn cooldown. It's conditional to his 100% crit rate, so he does require a bit of stats. You need accuracy, you need speed, you need crit rate now. But having a champion provide this level of CC is very, very good, especially if you have no other champion, right? Back in the day, he's very, very useful, and this ability is very, very good. He also provides 3 buffs here on his A3. Now, this can really help you if you're building out seer teams, you're lacking stats, or you're lacking a buffer. So these are all very good. You can make your seer a little bit weaker in terms of crit rate with more crit damage. So this can really, really help. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, which is still very reasonable. Arena speed in 17 is not the best, to be honest. It's actually quite weak. So you're not going to be using him there. But I mean, you could definitely use him as a speed lead there. And this guy absolutely slays in the Bannerlord faction wars. So if you guys are progressing through Bannerlord's faction wars, as soon as you get this guy from normal Doom Tower, he's going to be an absolute stud for that faction. With that all being said, Archmage Helmet lands in the good category for me. I still find some usage for him when building out teams, for example. Like most recently, I tried to use him in some event dungeon teams with Seer and these buffs. And he's still a staple in some of my Bannerlords progression, especially through the hard faction wars nowadays. So still a great champion overall. Up next, our next champion on the list is a legendary champion. It's going to be Eryx. So Eryx here is a HP based damage dealer. Now she does bring a little bit of control in her kit as well, but for the most part, people will be using her as a damage dealer. Now, Eryx is a login champion, day 631. So you need to be pretty progressed in this game, almost 2 years in this game to pick up this champion. By that time, her usefulness might not be very good. But one of the main places where I actually find I am using my Eryx is in the hard spider dungeon. She can actually do it solo with a Slayer set. Now the Slayer set doesn't need to be insane or anything, but it does need to have some relevant stats, mainly damage stats and high crit rate. She is doing it by herself, full solo with 4 food. So that is kind of the end game use for her. But at the time that you guys pick her up at day 630, she might not give you the best bang for your buck. So she does bring an AoE stun here. Maybe it'll help you guys in Night Rev, maybe a faster Faction Wars farm. And then she does bring ally attack and counterattack buffs on her A3. Her big thing here is her A1. A1 has a chance to remove a random buff, which is actually really strong and really annoying. You could build her out in high damage gear, and she could be your AoE damage dealer in Arena as well. She has good base HP, so she scales off the damage quite well. Or you can just use her in maybe like a stun set because she has the AoE A1 and then can help you out in various wave content. That's going to be Eryx here, day 631. And I'm going to put her in the good category as well. She's actually a very underrated champion. She hits quite hard. She's very, very annoying. Hard to kill as well with this passive that heals her up. Very, very annoying champion. And yeah, a little bit underrated in my opinion, but she does require some good gear to get the most out of her. I'm going to put her in the A category here. All right, so moving on from Eryx, our next champion here is going to be from the Demon Spawn faction, and it's going to be Lamasu. Lamasu here, she is an incredible champion. She is the Fragment Champion Collector reward for participating and winning Siege. Incredible champion here. She's got a big speed aura in all battles, good base stats overall, 115 base speed, making her the fastest champion in the game, or one of the fastest champions in the game. Lots of champions have 115 speed nowadays. Yeah, she's just awesome. PvE, PvP. She's got an A1 AoE decreased attack here. Obviously with an A1 AoE, she can have lots of applications, AoE Hex, AoE Stun, all sorts of stuff. And then she has an A2 here. AoE block buffs True Fear, so she places the block buff, doesn't require a hit. She is Void Affinity as well, so she's not going to weak hit anyways. She also, instead of landing Fear, she lands Decreased Speed against bosses, which is very, very useful. You see her in lots of boss content, Hydra, Chimera, and of course Arena as well, but the breadwinner move here for Lamasu is her A3. Remove all debuffs from one ally, give them 2 intercept stacks, and then give them 50% turn meter and reset their skills. Crazy ability here. She's a massive threat in the arena. If she goes first, she's going to boost up that damage dealer, and that damage dealer is going to smack you into the ground. For me, she's one of the best boosters in the game, basically a turn meter booster. She's kind of like a budget Suzanne, but a more PvE focused Suzanne. But she's still very, very good. Not as good as Suzanne, but still very good. So Lamasu, easily a S tier champion in terms of the free champions available in this game. She's available from Siege. There's a chance that you pick her up before a lot of the other champions. So obviously, if you have a strong clan that's just carrying you, you're going to pick up her fragments much more quickly. And then you might actually end up with her way before some of the other free champions in this game. But yeah, she is absolutely incredible if you guys pick her up, especially early on. Great crowd control, great protection, great everything. Decreased attack as well here. All right, so moving on from Lamasu, our next champion is Basatha, who is a Lizardman. He's a Magic Affinity HP based support champion here. And you can get him from the Doom Tower, so the hard Doom Tower fragment collectors from doing the secret rooms. Yeah, he's the 5th champion you get from the hard Doom Tower. A little bit underrated, to be honest. He actually has some pretty good crowd control abilities. This A1 ability is not that great. Single target, decreased attack. We just saw Lamasu with an AoE decreased attack. So not that great on the A1. His A2 brings a strengthened continuous heal on a 3-turn, also an additional shield on any champion that's been hard CC'd. And then he has an A3 here that's an AoE, and it places a stun with a turn meter pushback. The problem here is that it is a 4-turn ability, but at least it's 100% stun with the turn meter pushback. And he has a little bit of control here with his passive. Whenever an enemy is revived, has a 100% chance of placing stun on them. This can't be resisted. So he does provide some use and utility, especially with this AoE stun ability. Also a little bit of support here with the A2, and he brings HP in all battles. The problem is when you get Basatha, like, you really have no use for this champion. A 4-turn AoE stun just isn't the best unless you really need him to do something in hard faction wars for Lizardmen. That's definitely a thing, but you could argue that maybe putting a stun set on a Necmo or a Basilisk is kind of better and more frequent. You get more frequent stuns than Basatha. So I'm seeing limited use from this guy. Personally, I don't use this myself. Personally, I go with the stun sets on AoE champions instead. But he does have some use. He's not absolutely terrible. I mean, this ability is on a 3-turn, and it's not absolutely terrible. And his base stats are very reasonable. But for me, Basatha here falls a little bit short, and he's going to go into the C tier. He has some use, but I definitely would not be looking super forward for him if you need somebody to help you guys progress. All right, guys, moving on to our next champion here. He is going to be from the Ogryn tribes, and we're talking about this epic. His name is Seize. He's day 751. He's one of the last, I think he's the last login champion that you ever get from this game. After Seize, you start getting the generic calendar with no fragments anymore, and they're just going to be generic rewards every month. But yeah, Seize is a epic damage dealer from the Ogryn tribes here. He's got an A1 increased attack on this champion if this attack is critical, so he can self-buff himself, which is kind of nice. He got a triple hit here, turn meter fill, also places Veil on himself on a 3-turn cooldown, and then he has a increased crit damage AoE attack here with a bit of healing on a 3-turn cooldown as well. His passive steals turn meter, and he actually has pretty decent base attack for a epic champion. Now, at 2 years into this game, I don't know how useful this epic champion will be. Maybe for a Ogryn only type of dungeon. But personally speaking, I've never used this champion. He doesn't hit particularly hard or anything like that. The turn meter fill, I mean, it could be useful. Triple hit, maybe Fire Knight. But honestly, the rest of his kit just doesn't really, call out Fire Knight, right? And for Ogryn tribes, for faction wars, I don't think he's going to be that helpful, to be honest. He's a damage dealer that doesn't really offer too much utility, nor does he hit super hard. So I would say Seize is mostly useless. And I would say probably 4 out of 5 people would agree that Seize is probably landing in the D tier for most of them, especially coming in at day 750. So we're going to move him to the D tier. So moving on from Seize, after that we are talking about Cleopterix, and she is from the Skinwalker. She's a legendary champion. Cleopterix, sorry about that. And you can get her at day 271. She's the first champion you collect fragment wise after Visix. So Visix is the last login champion that you get fully, and then afterwards you get Cleopterix as a fragment as part of the monthly login rewards. Now, Cleopterix will always be known as the champion that replaced the monthly Sacred Shard. If you guys don't remember, we used to have a Sacred Shard every month as part of our login rewards, and they replaced that with a fragment champion, basically Cleopterix. And then, of course, after Cleopterix, they started adding other fragment collector champions as well. But she is a damage dealer. Now, when she was released, the big thing about her was that she had the ability to apply Hex. Now, this was a big deal back in the day because there wasn't anybody that could apply Hex, and the current curse set was not the way it is right now. So nowadays, if you want some Hex on your team, you can just equip somebody with a curse set. and you're good to go. But back in the day, there was nobody that applied Hex. So this kind of made her a little bit more useful. Unfortunately, this is on a 4-turn cooldown, increase accuracy, then you place Hex, and then you place Fear for 1 turn instead on enemies under Hex. I mean, this is a really, really weak ability, but because of the Hex landing, it made her kind of useful, I guess, as some kind of setup champion. Her A1 has a chance to land weaken, and then her A2 here hits okay, increase crit rate, increase crit damage on this champion, and then it's an AoE. It also has a block active skill, which is pretty good on a 3-turn cooldown, and she has a counter-attacking passive whenever she loses 30% of her HP. I mean, this is just not very good because she's super squishy, so 30% of her HP is just not going to happen very often. For her, it's probably 0 or 100% in terms of damage taken most of the time. But yeah, her A2 is decent, but this ability hasn't aged very well, especially with the rework of the curse set, basically applying Hex nowadays. Hex is still, one of the best debuffs for damage boosting, so it's still relevant. But Cleopterix is just not a very good champion overall. And she is in the Skinwalker's faction, which is pretty stacked for damage dealers. So of the damage dealers in the Skinwalker, she definitely ranks as one of the lowest. But if you're unfortunate enough to have none of those damage dealers, then she can at least provide a little bit of damage for you. She doesn't do too badly in terms of the damage department. She has decent base attack. She has the boosted crit damage. So she does have some use. So I'm going to put her in the C class as a damage dealer if you have no other damage dealers in this faction. But like I said, Skinwalkers is pretty stacked for good damage dealers. So she most likely would end up somewhere in the D or the C tiers. All right, so the next champion on this list after Cleo is Chromax. So Chromax is a Doom Tower hard fragment champion that basically you get by completing the secret rooms. So you can tell like the legendaries from Doom Tower are from the hard mode, and then the epics are from the normal mode, if you guys didn't know that. So Chromax, he is the 7th champion from the hard Doom Tower, and he's part of the Dark Elves here. See, I have Chromax, but I haven't pulled him yet. So he's just chilling out as a fragment for as long as I've got him for. Force Affinity, defense based. I mean, for me, he's just a support champion. It's not a very good one. He's got an A1 single target decrease attack, only 70% chance. Like if it's a single target, you kind of hope that it's at least 100% chance. His A2 here, he's single targeting, 3-turn cooldown, block buffs, and a turn meter fill on himself. Again, pretty terrible ability. We have 3-turn cooldown AoE block buffs with AoE decreased defense nowadays, and that's on Ugo, who's an epic. So this guy, his ability is very, very outdated. But this ability is actually not too bad. He has a 4-turn AoE provoke. It is 100% chance provoke and a decreased accuracy. It's a 4-turn, which is not the best. If this was 3-turn, it would be actually very usable. But as a 4-turn, I mean, still could be okay for this faction that kind of lacks some kind of CC in the legendary department. But that's about it for his kit. His passive has a 60% chance of landing Hex when he's hit. Not particularly exciting or anything like that. His best ability is going to be his A3 here with the AoE provoke. It is on a 4-turn, so it's not going to be super useful. He's borderline useless other than this ability, but I would say the fact that I haven't pulled this guy and have 0 use for this guy, you could easily put somebody like Sylar on your team if you needed some crowd control, and she would be way better than him. And of course, he's competing against another free champion, Visix, and Visix is a million times better than this champion. So I would say Chromax, you're going to be joining C's in the D tier, basically useless, especially being so late in the Doom Tower progression. So moving on from Chromax, the next champion up is Dark Athl. She's going to be part of the Undead Hordes. She is an epic and she is a free champion. She's going to be the day 90 free champion. So you get her at month 3. Now, even though she only comes in at day 90, I think her overall usefulness is just not there. Her base stats are really, really bad. So keeping her alive is going to be a problem. She is a damage dealer, and she kind of has some benefits against spiders. So this A3 ability says grants an extra turn if she kills 10 or more enemies. Now that's not going to happen in a lot of situations. That's not going to happen, right? On a single ability. So she can really make this ability work only against spider. And the benefits are just not really there. Look, so she has a 4-turn increase speed with a little bit of healing, and then you get an extra turn if you kill a bunch of enemies. Her A2 is actually probably even more useful actually in terms of just overall progression. You get an AoE decreased speed. Unfortunately, it's on a 4-turn. If it was on a 3-turn, it'd be actually, usable maybe even for Hydra. But she does bring in AoE decreased speed, which could be useful against hard faction wars. But of course, you're not going to be bringing this level of champion to hard faction wars. So for normal faction wars, this ability could definitely be very, very useful in AoE decreased speed. And she actually has an A1 decreased defense here, which is actually okay. It's actually okay. Not a great chance to land it, but it is the big AoE, big single target decreased defense. So I could see her being used in some cases, and being only a 90-day champion, your roster could be pretty thin and she could have some use. So I'm going to say she has some use. She's not entirely useless. She has some use. She's not a great champion by any means. But at the time that you get her, she does have some use, potentially. So we'll move her along to the C tier here. And moving to our next champion here, we have Dark Kale from the Dark Elves. He's a Magic Affinity Epic Champion. He's the 4th Doom Tower normal champion that you get. And you know what? He is used a lot against Dragon. He brings great amount of poisons. He brings decreased attack as well, poison sensitivity. So he's very good against the dragon. He actually can solo the dragon if you gear him out in regeneration set. Places the 3 poisons here with the poison sensitivity and then the decreased attack. And then he has an A1 here, which detonates the poisons. And he also has a passive here that kind of shuts down the unwanted crits from the boss and all that stuff. Base stats, not the best, so you do need some pretty good gear on him to make him really work. You do need resistance on him if you want him to do any kind of soloing. But yeah, he's a good champion. He definitely has some usage. Both his A2 and A3 are on 3-turn cooldowns, which is very good, very useful. So I think Dark Kale still has some use nowadays, especially if your roster is limited when you pick him up. So I'm going to say Dark Kale lands in the good tier. Personally speaking, on both my accounts, I've actually never used Dark Kale because I've always ended up with better options for his same role. But that doesn't mean that this guy is not good. All right, so after Dark Kale, we're sticking with the Darks. And we're going to go into the Undead Hordes again, and we're going to talk about Dark Elhane. So Dark Elhane is the day 120 champion. She comes the month after Dark Athl. And I've always had a soft spot for Elhane. She was my first starter champion. And I was really excited to get Dark Elhane when I first got her. She's day 120, so she's 4 months in. Low base stats overall. She is a damage dealer, magic damage dealer here. She got an A1, destroy max HP. She's got an A2 here, 3-turn cooldown with increased attack on herself, and then placing a decreased speed on an AoE attack on a 3-turn cooldown. Very reasonable. And then she has this really cool passive, and I think this is what makes her kind of usable in a lot more different situations compared to like Dark Athl, for example. She has this passive here, Lethal Winter. Fills this champion's turn meter by 25% and instantly activates Death Majesty, which is this ability, the AoE attack. Whenever this champion or an ally receives a freeze debuff. So you can actually bring her in some cases against Tormin, or in cases where you're going to get frozen a lot, and then she is going to pop off and deal tons and tons of damage with her AoE here. And her secondary passive, which probably could have been baked into her first passive here, is that she gets buffs whenever she gets buffs, and then she gets the freeze removed from herself whenever it is applied to her. So it's really, really nice. She's basically an anti-freeze champion. And then she can actually work against some waves in like Centranos or something. I did have to bring out Dark Elhane against some waves, I believe. Still a pretty cool champion. Not a bad one if you need the AoE decreased speed as well for the Undead Horde faction wars. And I think for most people, she would probably be an okay champion. So moving on from Dark Elhane, the next champion here is going to be from the Demon Spawn. And we're going to talk about Drexar here. So Drexar is a champion that you get by collecting his fragments from the tag team shop, so the bazaar. So make sure you guys, here's a tip. So make sure you guys buy his fragments every day, because you don't want to save up your coins to buy all his fragments in one go, because you're limited to buy his fragments once per day. So at the very least, it takes you guys at least 3 months to get this guy, because you guys can only get 1 fragment per day. But honestly, when I pulled this guy was an absolute game changer, because I was still progressing through hard Doom Tower, and Drexar here is a boss killer. But the thing is that's best about him is that he doesn't even need to take a turn to be useful. He just applies the HP burns, and then he'll slowly kill the boss. He was also my main damage dealer when I was running through hard Doom Tower, and I needed him just to kill off the waves. because the rest of my team was all CC champions. So I'm obviously like trying my best to go through all the hard levels and just trying to CC everybody, basically crowd control everyone, and then using Drexar's HP burn to whittle them down. Now Drexar also has a 3-turn AoE provoke, which is decent. Not 100% chance or anything like that. He has a triple hit here that can apply HP burn, and then accuracy in all battles, which makes building out your team a bit easier. He's defense based, so you can survive a little bit longer, and I did use him quite a bit in a lot of content when I picked him up. So I think he's definitely worthwhile if you have a limited roster. Obviously, nowadays, there's a bunch of champions that are going to be pretty strong, and you might not be, using Drexar like ever, but at that time, he was very, very useful for me. He got me through a lot of the hard Doom Tower content. And honestly, he doesn't even need books. He doesn't need books. If you just need to use him for his HP burn, he doesn't need books, right? He has a 55% chance. Fully booked, it's going to be 75% chance. But if he gets hit often enough, this 55 and 75 doesn't really matter because he can only apply 1 HP burn anyways. So great champion. He falls down into the good category for me. For me, still a good champion, still can find lots of applications, even if you're fairly into the late game. All right, so the next champion after Drexar that we're going to talk about here is Grush the Mangler. Now, Grush the Mangler comes in at day 240. So 8 months into the game, you're going to be picking up a Grush the Mangler. He's an epic champion, spirit-based affinity. Now, this guy, when I pulled him, he was actually very, very useful. He has an A1 leech, which is very good against clan boss, for example. So if you have don't have lifesteal gear, if you don't have an unkillable team, I mean, this guy's going to help you progress with his leech ability. He also brings decreased attack and decreased crit damage, which is very, very strong for clan boss as well. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, so it's not reliable, but he can, come in as a backup with a decreased attack. And then he brings in continuous heals as well. Now, he doesn't do anything too fancy. He does provide just a bit of support. And then, of course, the A1 leech is very, very nice. For early clan boss, he's useful. For early wave content, he's useful. And then, of course, for early faction wars, he can be useful as well. Some of these abilities probably should be on a 3-turn by now. So, for example, his A2 and A3. These probably should be on a 3-turn to make him like really, really okay. But for me, I think he's still a decent champion. So I'm going to put him in the B tier as an okay champion. All right, so moving on from Grush the Mangler, we're going to talk about the final Doom Tower legendary champion that you guys can get from the hard Doom Tower. And that's going to be Jinro the Stork. So Jinro the Stork, like I said, he's going to be the last legendary you get from hard Doom Tower. Now, I mean, this guy could probably be a meme, how bad he is, right? He's got an A1 here, 50% chance of increasing cooldown one of the target skills by 2 turns. Now, this A1 is not bad. This A1 is not bad. Similar to Arman's A1. And then he's got a 3-turn single target hit, single target stun, ignoring block debuff and block damage. I mean, this probably should be an AoE, right? At this point, at this stage in the game, you probably should be an AoE attack. And then this A3 here, 4-turn cooldown, increase defense on this champion and counterattack. On a 4-turn cooldown, he only buffs himself with increased defense and counterattack. So yeah, again, this probably should be a team-wide buff, okay? His passive here does have some interesting passives on his kit. Increases his champion's defense each time they counterattack. So obviously after applying the A3, defense resets each time this champion takes a turn. So he gets tankier every time he counterattacks. So he can potentially counterattack 2 times. He has a 2-turn duration. When attacking, converts this champion's resistance into additional accuracy. I mean, the accuracy is only going to help here for this single target stun. His active effect on a 4-turn cooldown. At the end of this champion's turn, places provoke for 1 turn on all enemies under increased attack buffs. Very, very specific condition here on a 4-turn cooldown. I mean, this guy's kit is all over the place, but there is one place where this guy could actually be useful, and that is hard faction wars. This A1 actually could be useful. Obviously, some of the CC can actually be useful as well. And even this counterattack can be useful. So, he's bad. He's bad. His kit's bad. He's bad. And as a, the final legendary from hard Doom Tower, it's a bad freebie that you can acquire. But at the end of the day, he does have one use, and that's going to be in hard faction wars. So I'm going to say some use. But he's got to be at the bottom of this C tier. He's near useless, but he did find some use there for his CC and cooldown lockout ability here on his A1. And at least his Void Affinity as well. So that kind of makes him a little bit more useful. So anyways, moving on from Jinro, we have our next champion, which is going to be also a hard Doomtire champion, Grojar. He's going to be from the Dwarves faction here. Grojar, he's the second last champion. So he's the one that you get before Jinro. Love this guy's visuals. He looks pretty funny. Look at this massive sword. I wonder where this sword came from or who was holding the sword before him. And yeah, this guy's pretty bad too. This guy's pretty bad too. He's got pretty good base stats. But yeah, this guy's pretty bad. Let's go over his kit here real quick. He's got a double hit on his A1. It has a chance of increasing the duration. 40% chance of increasing the HP burn duration. Not a chance to land HP burn. Increasing the duration. So that's pretty bad. Like nowadays we have Artak, which has an AoE like this ability. So he has a single target. Pretty bad. Pretty bad A1. His A2 here, again, pretty bad. On a 3-turn cooldown, it's at least 100%. Has 100% chance of removing block debuffs, and then a 100% chance of removing a random buff except for block debuffs. I mean, yeah, it's bad, and it's on a single target. It's on a single target. If this was AoE, fine, we can talk about it, right? Double hit AoE, but it's a double hit single target. It's so bad. And then we got an A3 here. It's a 4-turn AoE attack, placing HP burn. Okay, useful. But look at this condition, guys. Also fills this champion's turn meter by 5% for every HP burn debuff the enemy team had before this attack. Why doesn't it just give him turn meter for every HP burn placed? At least that way he can get some guaranteed value. Because this secondary condition just means he doesn't get any value from it if there's no existing HP burner on the team. If there was no existing HP burner on the team, he doesn't get any value from this the first time he places it. So it's just a 4-turn AoE HP burn, which is awful. So Grojar, yeah, at this point in this game, so late in the game, I mean, he's borderline useless. It's very unlikely that you pick up a champion worse that has, you know, that doesn't place HP burn. I mean, like I said, we just covered Akoth, and he's an epic, and he has the, you know, not guaranteed, but it's on a 3-turn cooldown, right? His passive effect, I mean, makes him slightly more useful. His passive effect is that he doesn't receive damage from HP burns. Instead, it's going to be a healing ability, and his active effect here, whenever anybody places a freeze debuff on this champion, remove it, place it on the attacker instead. Also place an HP burn on the attacker for 1 turn. HP burn cannot be resisted. So he has a little bit of HP burn immunity. HP burns kind of benefit him and all that. But honestly, his abilities are kind of, yeah, this ability should be an AoE, and this ability probably should be on a 3-turn cooldown. I mean, near useless. Personally, I haven't even pulled this guy. There's just absolutely no need to pull this guy. His kit's very epic-esque, epic level. For a legendary that requires, you know, tons of books, like what are we talking about here? 14 books? 14 books for this champion, I would say is borderline useless. But yeah, we're going to put him in the useless tier, and I think we'll be pretty happy about that. All right, up next, we got Gerta Bogbrew from the Ogren tribes here. So Gerta Bogbrew, she's the 451st day login champion that you guys get. So about a year and a half into the game, you guys can feast your eyes on Gerta here. One of the best, visually striking, of course. Look at this pot. What she's got in there, some kind of plants. So what is Gerta all about here? So she's got an A1 debuff spread here. It's not 100% chance, unfortunately. And it only works on enemies under weaken. Otherwise, it's just a turn meter decrease. So her A1's pretty terrible. Her A2 here attacks all enemies, has a chance to place, it's 100% chance at least, to place the weaken debuff on a 3-turn cooldown. I mean, that's okay. After attacking, has an 80% chance, 100% chance with fully booked, of placing 2 poisons on enemies without weaken debuffs. So either way, you're going to get a little bit of value out of it. Either you get weaken or you get 2 poisons, but it's on a 3-turn cooldown. I mean, it's just not enough. Ideally, you land both of these together. So weaken and the poisons on a single ability on a 3-turn. Having them be separate and conditional, it just doesn't make any sense. It's just not that good, not very good at all. Her A3, probably the best part of her kit, on a 3-turn cooldown, has a 100% chance of removing 1 random buff from all enemies, then has a 100% chance of placing 2 poisons on all enemies, and then it's a bit of a soft cleanse. So you remove 2 random debuff from all allies. So it's a 3-turn cleanse with the poison placing, and it's a soft, very soft strip as well. So this is the best part about her kit here. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, which makes it very, very reasonable and good. And she has a passive here that kind of synergizes with her poisons and stuff. It pushes back turn meter whenever they receive debuffs. Now, this doesn't mean that she needs to apply the debuffs, so that's a good thing as well. So she does have a little bit of use, decent base stats as well. So I would say, even though she looks pretty terrible, I would say she has some use here. I would say probably more use than Jinro, especially with this A3 ability where she can strip, cleanse, and then land poisons as well. So not too terrible there. All right, so after Gerta, the next champion here on this list is from the Dark Elf faction. She is an epic Gwyneth here. The 5th champion you get from normal Doom Tower from the Secret Room fragments. Got some pretty weak base stats here. She is a attack-based damage dealer. She's bringing speed in Doom Tower battles. Probably one of the most useless auras there is. Let's check out her kit here real quick. Her A1 is an AoE at least. This attack does not trigger counterattacks. It's pretty weak, but at least it's an AoE. Her A2 here, single target hit before attacking, places weaken on the target, and then heals the champion by 30% of the damage inflicted, and then heals all allies with any surplus heal. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, which is pretty okay. Her A3 here, transfer all debuffs from this champion to one enemy, then attacks that enemy, will ignore 10% of the target's defense for each debuff they are under. On a 3-turn cooldown as well. Now, this actually is not that bad. So she has some debuffs. She's going to transfer it. It's 100% transfer, and then she attacks, and then she can ignore some defense. Base attack seems okay, but not great. Now, I'm actually taking a look at her multipliers here, and this A3 multiplier is 4.8. It's actually pretty decent, and a 3-turn cooldown ability with decent multipliers, and of course, you get this boost here from the ignore defense. This could actually hit pretty hard. Now, I don't really see her fitting into any kind of teams or being super useful for most players when you get her, but you never know if she can be a damage dealer, maybe for like an epic only dungeon event or something like that. So she might actually have some use as a damage dealer. Her A1 also gives her a little bit of versatility, so you could actually use her as, you know, perhaps a debuff champion if you need her for a certain team comp. So maybe she does actually have some use. I don't use her personally. I don't really want to call her completely useless, so I'm going to say she has some use. All right, on to the next champion on the list here, and we have from the Barbarian faction. I think most people have this champion. She is the 30-day first login champion that you guys get in this game. She welcomes you to raid. Hi, Katun. Very, very decent champion here. 104 base speed. Pretty decent defense as well. And she brings the speed in all battles, 19%. One of your first, probably your first speed aura in the game. She's got an A1 decreased speed, very useful against bosses. She's got the A2 turn meter boost with the increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown. Solid ability here. And then she has a turn meter pushback on the A3, which is not the strongest move in her kit. Her A1 and her A2 are incredibly good. And she is a big help when you get her on day 30 usually. You're going to be using her in a lot of areas as well. Still has some late game viability against Dark Fae, for example. And yeah, just a solid champion. So we're going to put her here in the good category. She is quite good still. Now, I probably should rejig some of these champions here a little bit. That's kind of it. I just moved Gerta ahead of Dark Athl, and I moved Drexar ahead of Dark Kale. I just kind of like Drexar a little bit more. He's more impactful than Dark Kale. I'm going to move Katun ahead of Dark Kale as well, just for overall general usability. All right, so the next question, next champion here after Katun is from the Dark Elves, and it is an epic Krakarth. Anyways, he is the last, it's actually a she, sorry. She is the last champion that you get from normal Doom Tower. And yeah, I didn't know it was a she, so let's check out her kit here real quick. She got an A1 here, 30% chance to remove one random debuff, 40% when fully booked of a ally. I mean, not very strong. It's random. It's not a high chance. Her A2 here, 3-turn cooldown, single target hit. She's an HP-based support champion, so she's not going to hit very hard. Places Revive on Death on this champion only on a 3-turn. Pretty horrible ability. And then her A3 here on a 4-turn cooldown, Strengthen, Shield. Strengthen and Shield on a 4-turn cooldown. And then passive increases the value of all shields placed on all allies by 15% when they are placed. So she gets a slightly bigger shield due to her passive. Base stats are okay, pretty decent actually. But man, her kit's just awful. Her A1's awful, her A2 is awful. And this ability, like, yeah, it can be useful, but like, damn, this is awful. So for me, pretty useless, to be honest. I mean, she's definitely more useless than Grojar. At least Grojar has HP burn. Chromax has provoke. But these are just awful abilities here. And you know, she's the last champion you can earn from normal dupe tower. It's kind of a shame, you know? It's kind of a shame that they give such bad champions at that level in the game. Basically a nothing champion at that point. Anyways, let's move on to our next champion, who is definitely far from nothing from the Night Revs. He is a mythical champion, Ember. So Ember is an incredible champion. He is a mythical champion, of course, and he requires all the mythical resources like books and stuff, but he is absolutely worth it. He's a free champion you can achieve by collecting him through Chimera chests. And yeah, very powerful champion, mainly used for PvP. But he can actually solo Sand Devil, actually. He has a really powerful kit here. So let's go over it real quick here. He's got this pretty special ability here where he can swap, basically remove Stone Skin and then swap buffs into their, swap positive buffs into their negative buffs, which require accuracy. But this removal of the Stone Skin and replacing it doesn't require accuracy, which is very powerful. He has an A1 here that destroys max HP. It's on an AoE, it's very good. He has an A2 here that places fear and decrease attack. And then this passive where it places necrosis can be very annoying, can be game changing actually, because it's consistent damage over time. And then when he transforms, he's an absolute massive nuke here. He has this very annoying swap HP with an enemy that boosts his damage. And then he has an AoE here that smacks super hard. Now this ability does scale off of his HP and accuracy. So a little bit of accuracy on him doesn't hurt. It actually builds him up a little bit, but not necessary. And his A1 here is super threatening. It turns into a double hit when they have necrosis stacks, but it also places the block revive when he kills somebody with his A1, which is absolutely insane. His passive in this form is also super annoying. So when this champion is about to be killed by a fatal hit, preempts that hit and instantly places revive on death on them for 1 turn before the damage is taken. So he has basically a second life in this form. And when he dies, he reflects the damage equal to 50% of the fatal hit back to the attackers. So certain attackers, you have to be very worried about this, basically killing yourself, but then he gets a second life coming back. So very tricky to play against. He's actually very powerful and obviously very threatening. He can, you know, double up as a good support, or he can just be pure damage dealer. Very strong champion, HP based. The weakest part of his kit is probably his aura. Like if he had a speed aura here, it would be insane. He does have the biggest ally HP in all battles aura to boost his own damage. But if he had a speed aura, this guy would be absolutely the best. But as he is right now, he's probably one of the best free champions you can get in this game. I'm gonna put him ahead of Lamasu because I love this guy so much, and he's an absolute game changer in PvP. Especially if you guys don't have insane rosters. All right, so after Ember, the next champion on the list is Lady Rash. She's also from the Night Revs, and she is an epic champion here. Here she is. You get her at day 571. So about a year and a half into this game, you pick up Lady Rash. Force Affinity, attack-based damage dealer. Really low base stats here overall. Has to boost the crit damage, but pretty low attack. Let's see what her kit here is all about. A1, single target, double hit. Each hit has a chance to place a weaken. 25% chance is pretty low. Requires accuracy, of course. A2 here is an AoE on a 4-turn cooldown. Has a chance of gaining an extra turn. If the extra turn is not granted, fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each living enemy instead. I mean, this could, you know, you could do this against Spider, you get a bunch of turn meter back, and then or you get an extra turn. I mean, it's on a 4-turn cooldown. It's pretty bad. And then you got an A3 here, places increased attack, increased crit damage on this champion, then grants an extra turn. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, so effectively a 3-turn cooldown. So you can buff herself and then do this big attack here. And then she has a little bit of survivability, I guess, with her passive. She places Perfect Veil on herself on a 4-turn cooldown if her HP drops below 50%. Now, the problem here with this champion is that usually when they are under 50% HP, they're probably dead because she's just a squishy damage dealer. Just taking a look at her multipliers here, nothing too impressive. Her AoE is a 3.8 on a 4-turn. It's pretty rough. No ignore defense or any kind of utility there. Low chance on the weekend. The best thing about her kit is that she can actually self-buff, but honestly, that's so little value nowadays. She's definitely not worth using. So for me, she lands into the useless category, and she's probably going to be pretty useless. She can't hit. She has no utility, so she lands in the very useless category for me. So after Lady Rash, we have Labberga from the demon spawns here. Labberga, Oh, my bad. She's actually from the Orcs, Labberga here. There she is. There she is. She's Void Affinity, and she is the second last champion you get from normal Doom Tower. And you know what? Honestly, she doesn't have too much use, but her kit's not terrible. Her A1 here has a chance to land poison. Her A2 here on a 3-turn cooldown. A single target has a chance to land 2 poisons, 100% of course, with the poison sensitivity. So this is actually okay. Unfortunately, it's only a single target. And then her A3 here places increased defense and increased attack on everybody on a 4-turn cooldown. Now, 4-turn cooldown is not the best, but it's actually not too bad. I mean, you have some flexibility with team building with increased defense, increased attack. Her passive here also synergizes with the poisons. When attacked, has a 50% chance of increasing the duration of all poison debuffs on the attacker. Now, the best case for her is against Hard Dragon. So against Hard Dragon, she can land poisons, poison sensitivity, poisons on her A1. She can go increase defense or increase attack, or you shut down this A3 altogether and just have her do this, poisons and poison sensitivity. And then her passive, when she is hit by the dragon, she can increase the duration of the poisons on the Hard Dragon. So that is the best spot for her. And she actually does it pretty well. She does it pretty well. Like, you could argue that the weakest part of her kit is her A3. So just shut it off. Just shut it off and use the A1 and A2. And she does it pretty well against the Hard Dragon. So I would say she's actually, yeah, pretty decent. And of course, you know, whatever can work against the Hard Dragon, you can definitely use her against Clan Boss and all that stuff. Her base stats are not terrible, but not great. Like, we're not talking about like 14k HP or anything. So she has 17k HP. Not great, but not super terrible. So I would say she probably ends up somewhere in the okay category. She's not as generally good as like somebody like Grush, who I would probably say is probably better than Elhane. I would probably say Labberga is maybe better than Elhane here. But you know, she's probably not generally as good as Akoth or Grush, but she's pretty good in her one specific use, which is against Hard Dragon. All right, so after Labberga here, we got day 150 login champion Lordly Legionnaire. Lordly Legionnaire here. He is going to be from the Bannerlords, a epic champion. He's got the flaming sword. He's the knight from the Brotherhood or whatever from the Game of Thrones, I guess. But yeah, day 150. All right, so he's, what is it, month 5. Month 5, attack-based magic affinity damage dealer is A1. Single target double hit. Places an extra hit if they're under heal reduction. 2 extra hits if they're under 100% heal reduction. This is not going to happen very often. There's not too many heal reduction champions in the game that are like usable. He's got an A2 here. Another single target hit on a 3-turn cooldown. 100% chance to land decreased speed. Decrease the target's turn meter by 20% if the decreased speed is placed. Now, I think Legionnaire is supposed to help you with normal Fire Knight. So, you know, around the 5-month mark, he's supposed to be helpful in the Fire Knight. You know, he can be decreased speed. He can have his turn meter pushed back and all that stuff. The multi-hit on the A1s can be useful. And of course, the heal reduction is where you would, you know, most likely see it on the Fire Knight, of course, right? So his A3 here places reflect damage and continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns. Now, reflect damage also works against the shield for the Hard Fire Knight. So his kit is kind of built for, no, sorry, not Hard Fire Knight, but Fire Knight. Actually, both Fire Knights, it does work against the shield. So his kit, you know, pretty kitted out for Fire Knight content, especially normal Fire Knight. So I think if you have real troubles against Fire Knight, this could be kind of useful. 3-turn cooldown on this, you know, single target, decreased speed with the turn meter pushback, assuming that you land a decreased speed. It's not too bad, to be honest. So I can see this guy having some use, especially early on if you're struggling. So I'm going to put him in the some use category here, probably ahead of Jinro. But yeah, this guy is not good by any stretch. But for a 5-month-old account, maybe useful if your account is very thin at that mark. Moving on to our next champion, definitely one of the best free champions available in this game. We are talking about Dark Elves, legendary champion, Void Affinity. Lydia the Death Siren here is the reward from finishing normal faction wars. Not an easy feat for anybody. But in 2025, she is still worth it, guys. She is still worth it. Great base stats overall, 110 base speed. I believe when she was first introduced, her base speed was 120. And that was the highest. It was highest of any champion. And then I think they brought it down to 110. People thought she was overpowered when she was introduced and all that stuff. She's a very old champion. Like I said, the prize for faction wars. And yeah, even in 2025, she is the best in the business with her A2 here, Siren's Wail, AoE decreased defense, weaken from a Void Affinity champion, and then places strengthen, increased speed on a 3-turn cooldown. Amazing ability, still best in the business in terms of AoE decreased defense and weaken on a single ability. Brings a block buffs, poison sensitivity, block active skills on an A3 here. Again, 3-turn cooldown, very reasonable. A1 Fear, which is super annoying, and a passive that is still pretty useful and very unique to her. 7-turn cooldown, but she will deny enemy revive attempts. She is godly against the Frostbiter. I think that's why they made her, I guess, to deny the Frostbiter, make it super easy against the Frostbiter, so any stage with that boss, she takes care of very easily. And yeah, she's still a staple in a lot of teams, right? She's great for seer teams because she provides buffs and the debuffs as well. She's great for boss content. Obviously, she brings a lot of stuff, lots of debuffs, lots of buffs. And yeah, definitely one of the best free champions available in this game. Definitely worth the trouble to get her, of course. If you're still working through Faction Wars, definitely worth it to get her. You'll be using her a lot. 9-piece Pharaoh, 9-piece Protection, all work very well on her. Shield set, if you guys are just starting out, maybe just Perception gear. Make her fast, make her accurate. She has good base stats for scaling. She easily belongs in the S tier. It just depends where she would go. I would put her ahead of Arbiter, just because you would use Lydia basically everywhere when you get her. You might not use her in Arena in the late game, whereas Arbiter you would, but Arbiter you wouldn't use in any PvE content, and Lydia you would. So for now, I think Arbiter and Lydia are probably similar, but I think Lydia is probably going to be a little bit more used, a little bit more heavily used. But I don't think she's as good as Lamasu in both areas. Lamasu in both areas are extremely, extremely powerful. So I would put Lamasu a little bit ahead of Lydia in the S tier here, but still looking very good for a champion that's 6 years old. Fun fact is that Lydia's face is actually based on one of the, I think, developers for at Plarium. So her face is actually a face of a real person that works at Plarium. So that's a little bit of a trivia question for you guys. And of course, her character model is based off of Kerrigan from StarCraft, and I'm sure Kerrigan is based off of another character from another game. But yeah, some fun facts for you guys. Moving on from Lydia here, the next champion on the list is also from the Dark Elves, and she is also insane. We got Mythra here. Mythra comes from fragments from the Hydra clan boss and clan chess. You can get her fragments from any of her chests, so make sure you guys get her fragments ASAP. So do your Hydra on the regular, on the daily. You guys will eventually get her as long as you guys do Hydra. And she is absolutely insane. You guys can get her relatively early as well. And if you guys do, she is a hard carry in so many areas. Big accuracy in all battles. Great base stats overall. She brings a 3-turn cleanse with a strengthen and a shield. Big shield too, 30% of her HP. She brings AoE Hex, which boosts your damage. She brings increased defense, increased attack, which boosts your damage, boosts your survivability. On a 3-turn cooldown, she has a single target hit, but it's a high percentage chance, 100% chance when fully booked to land 2 poisons, which is insane against single target bosses. And she has this passive, which makes her one of the most viable resistance champions in this game, because her resistance will be increased by the amount of accuracy that she has. So the more accuracy you put on this champion, the more resistance she's going to get. She also has this super annoying crowd control here. When enemies under Hex, they have a 50% chance of applying petrification to them, so you can shut them down completely, which is super, super annoying. But yeah, she's an amazing champion. She can be used in Arena as a cleanser, high resistance cleanser. She can also be a buffer for you, also be crowd control, or she can be a solo champion. In some cases, well, solo boss champion with the poisons on the A1. Put her in regen gear. She can solo the dragon, for example. Solo, for example, like Scarab King, anything, because she has super high resistance. You know, she's hard to control by these bosses. And yeah, she has tons of survivability, providing for your team with the strengthen and shield as well. This is an insane champion. She's absolutely insane. And if you're diligent about collecting her fragments, you can get her relatively early, way earlier than like Lydia, for example. So I think the time at which you get this champion also makes a difference in how useful they are. If you pick her up early, she's absolutely insanely, insanely useful. Now her PvP use does drop off in the ultra like end game. But her PvE use is still very good, but would probably still drop off as well. So with all that being said, I think she belongs in the S tier for sure. And I think she probably just goes one step behind Arbiter because of her super endgame applications, probably going to be less used than somebody like Arbiter or Lydia or Lamasu or those ahead of her. But for the early game, she is absolutely insane. But not to say that these other champions are not absolutely insane for early game as well. But I think she does have a bit of drop off in the super end game. But clearly an S tier champion here in Mythra. One of the best in the business. And moving on to another, mission champion here, we have Ramanu from the Lizardmen here. So Ramanu, Void Legendary from the Ramanu missions here. I love his aesthetic. I think he looks amazing. Base stats a little bit on the weak side. He is an attack-based damage dealer, but not really a damage dealer. And yeah, like I said, he comes from the Ramanu missions. They are arguably harder than all the missions. All the other missions, his missions are probably the hardest. Is he worth it? He's bringing a big accuracy in all battles. He's got an A1 here with the 100% chance to lock out or stun. Very annoying A1 here. He's got an A3, applies 5 debuffs potentially on a 3-turn cooldown, decreased defense, weaken, decreased speed, block buffs, potentially with fear on everybody, not just one champion. Very annoying A2. And then his A3 here, this is probably what he's probably best known for, or best used for. AoE, 100% chance of removing all buffs on a 3-turn cooldown, 100% chance of landing block active skills, 100% chance of landing block passive skills. Now, this is what makes him special. The block passive skills. Not many champions have this ability, and Ramanu has it. And honestly, his kit works perfectly fine. He is a disabling champion. He's probably just missing a little bit of extra bit in his kit to make him really useful. Maybe if this ability was an AoE instead of a single quad hit, so he can land decreased defense, weaken, decreased speed, block bust, but make it like a lower chance. Maybe that'll make it more usable. Maybe if his passive was a little bit different, because his passive kind of makes him like, he can't be crowd controlled a little bit. Basically, whenever somebody hard CCs him, it gives him turn meter, increased speed, so he has some recovery from a hard CC. But it's not like full immunity or anything like that. Maybe if this was fully immune, maybe if it grants him an extra turn, but it seems like he's missing a little bit in his kit to make him truly insanely good. His kit is good, but it's not. It's not as good and it's not applicable right now. He did have some use in live arena. He does have some use against like Sand Devil, for example, with this ability. You could use him in Chimera as well with this ability. And I think his kit is still good. It's just not super used right now. So I'm going to put him in the A category as good. And I'm going to put him ahead of some of these other champions here because his ability, like I said, is still pretty unique and still very powerful. So he's going to fit right here, right above Eric's. Maybe I'm overrating him a little bit, but I really like this guy. I hope he comes back in some way in future content. So moving on from Ramanu here, we have Rion the Conjurer. Rion the Conjurer is the third Doom Tower normal champion that you get. He's from the Dark Elves faction. Very good champion, to be honest. He has decent base stats. Not great, but not terrible. He's got an A1 block buff, not 100% chance. He's got a 3-turn A2 that's going to be a full strip with a weaken. Again, not bad. When she was released, this ability was actually pretty strong. And then she brings a single target revive on a 4-turn cooldown. Now, this revive ability is not very good. Usually we see 4-turn revives for full teams, not just single target. And usually if it's single target, you get way more benefits than just having block debuffs. So this ability is definitely hasn't aged well. So it's not very good. Well, it's not bad, but it's not very good. And then she brings a increased accuracy by 40 in all battles, which is average, but she is an epic. She also has a little bit of synergy here with Akoth or Euros, but honestly, it's not crazy synergy or anything like that. So we kind of can discount this. But 3-turn strip with the weaken, single target block buffs, and a conditional, a backup revive. Not too bad. She's definitely an okay champion. Is she a good champion? Probably not by today's standard. And when you pick her up, she is the 3rd champion down the line. So she's probably not going to be doing crazy things for you, but she is a okay champion. I would say she's somewhere in the middle here in terms of overall usability when you pick her up. Can be useful for maybe like faction wars, for example, as a reviver. So I think she belongs somewhere in the B tier as an okay champion. Now, moving on to the next champion here, we have Scion. from the demon spawns here. Scion here, he's an epic. You pick this guy up on day 390. So just over a year in the game. This guy is the first epic champion after Cleopterix, which is after Visix, which is the last login champion you get. And then you start collecting fragments for these guys. So Scion, you know what? He's basically pretty useless. And I had this guy built out to land a hero reduction against Amius. And honestly, you don't really need to use this guy for hero reduction. I definitely think that hero reduction for Amius is kind of overrated. You definitely don't even need to build this guy out for that role. If this ability was an AoE block buff with AoE hero reduction, then he would be very useful, obviously, for places like Hydra and stuff. But single target hero reduction, I mean, you're going to be putting this maybe on Fire Knight, maybe on Amius, but I would recommend you not focusing him for those roles because I just don't think he's very good. He has very poor base stats. He doesn't hit hard at all. He has a chance to disable the block active skills, but it's a low chance. And this passive is just horrendous. So overall, I think Scion here is pretty darn useless. In the off case that you need him to use hero reduction, I would probably recommend you don't. So I'm going to put him at the D tier, useless. Poor Scion here. Looks great, but not very useful. Moving on from Scion here, we have somebody that is far from useless. We have from the Barbarian faction, we have Syl of the Drakes. Syl of the Drakes magic, support, defense-based champion. She got some fat defense. She looks amazing. I lean super hard on this champion. She has the A1 decreased speed, single target hit. She's got the AoE stun here on a 3-turn cooldown. It's a low chance to stun, 35% when fully booked. You can give her Fearsome Presence to give her 40%, but it's not a big stun. It is a double hit, which increases the chances. And then she has a single target revive here with ally protection, giving the revive champion a chance to get a turn back. And then she has a passive here that heals everybody and then passively places a increased speed. Now, like I said, Syl of the Drakes comes at day 180, which is 6 months into the game. When I got Syl of the Drakes, she was the first legendary that I booked out because I had such horrible luck on my first account. And she was a massive carry. All areas, all dungeons, Doom Tower waves. She was a massive, massive carry. I would imagine even players that are doing Hydra now probably would use her just for decreased speed on the A1 occasionally, and occasionally the heal and the revive. She's a goddess in all waves. You can just use her for her passive. You can put her relentless gear, and she'll do great work for you. Obviously, like this ability is not as strong anymore. We have champions doing 3-turn cooldowns with AoE 100% stuns. So this ability is not as good anymore relative to some of the champions that are available in the game. But, you know, she's a free champion, still very good. Overall kit is still very solid. Great passive as well, good base stats, and she's tanky. So for me, there's a lot of people saying she's like maybe overrated and stuff, but you guys probably are blessed with free champions, free login champions, and maybe better rosters. But when I pulled her, she was an absolute game changer, and I still think she's an extremely good champion, similar to Drexar, but I think she's probably better than Drexar here. I would say she's probably better than Eric's in terms of overall use. So I'm going to put her somewhere in the good category. All right, so moving on from Syl of the Drakes, we have a epic demon spawn here, and it's going to be Tanix here. Now you get Tanix from day 210, and she seems overall pretty useless. However, I did find a use for her, and she was absolutely critical in her role for defeating demon spawn faction wars for me. Now she places the decreased speed on her A2. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, and this was absolutely super important against the faction wars boss, not the hard mode, sorry. But having her on the team, landing the decreased speed, allowed me to defeat the boss, and she was absolutely insane. She has a small conditional heal on her A1. She's not particularly good, to be honest, and the only reason I used her was for the decreased speed against the boss, and I used her at a level 50, but she did find that one piece of use. And you know what? She performed it really well. Like I said, as a level 50, she performed it really well. So I'm going to put her somewhere here in the some use category for the decreased speed. It's also conditional AoE decreased speed as well. So yeah, she's going to go in the C tier for me. Moving on to our next champion here, we have Talia here from the Shadowkin. She's a Void Epic. She's from the normal Doom Tower rewards. She is the 6th reward. Void Affinity, epic damage dealing champions. Got an A1 here, 50% chance of placing decreased accuracy on a single target. A2, single target triple hit, has a 100% chance of placing a poison debuff. And then her A3 here is another single target hit, 100% chance of activating poison debuff and HP burns on the target. Also has a 100% chance of placing a heal reduction for 2 turns. Accuracy in all battles. Now, where would you use this champion, right? Like, she has very low base stats. She has, she's an attack-based damage dealer. She lands poison, so she requires accuracy. She hits okay. Her multipliers hit okay. But where would you use this type of champion, right? Like, you got a multi-hit here with a single poison. You got an activate here with a heal reduction. Like, is it going to be like Fire Knight, but not really? So really for her, there's really no use where she would go. So for me, comfortably put her in the useless category, probably similar to Lady Eresh in terms of usability. Like, they're kind of damage dealers, but they have, no use, not enough damage out of them. So down to go into the D tier. Now, let's talk about this champion here. The next champion on the list is going to be from the Skinwalkers, and he is part of the Marius missions. He is your golden reward at the end of the Marius missions. And Marius the Galant is, in my opinion, the best champion in the game in terms of non-mythicals, let's say that. But he is insane in PvP, insane in PvE. And up until you can absolutely replace him with the best of the best, he is going to be in almost all your teams. Defense-based damage dealer here. He's got an A1 Enfeeble AoE, very annoying. Enfeeble is game-changing. He's got this triple hit strip, or it's not really a strip, but it's a decreased duration, which prevents him from getting sheeped. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. It's a max HP hit, so it's insane against bosses. And then he can self-buff, accuracy, increase defense, and then of course stun as well on a 3-turn. And his passive is super annoying here. Whenever you try to do any turn meter stuff, he will use his A1 against you. Very annoying champion. He is the answer to mythicals as well. Whenever enemies transform, he will counterattack with his A1 as well. So this guy is an absolute game changer. He changed my account when I pulled him, and I put him as the SSSS tier. He's the best champion in the game, probably outside of mythicals, and I think we can mostly agree on that in terms of overall usage. You can get him probably easier than you can get Lydia nowadays, but some of his missions are quite difficult, and you need a pretty progressed account, so no guarantees that you're going to get him. This was also one of the times where Hex was first announced. So her kit here, her A1 attacks 2 times at random, and then she places the Hex debuff, right? And then her A2 here benefits, gets a big damage boost from the Hex. Her A3 gives her a long-term Veil extra turn, and her passive here gives a little bit of crowd control when the enemy loses 30% of their max HP. Now the problem here with Thea is that her Hex placing ability is, 2 turns at random, so it's only good against single target bosses, but then she has an AoE nuke here. So you kind of need her to get set up with somebody that lands Hex, and then, you need this to be strong enough to kill that enemy. It's on a 4-turn cooldown as well. And then she only has one other ability, right? She doesn't, so maybe if she had another AoE, or maybe if this was 3-turn cooldown, or maybe if it granted an extra turn if she killed somebody, just something to get her to cycle back to that ability a little bit faster. Like, she does have this on her A1. Each critical hit decreases the cooldown of not of this world by 1 turn on the Veil. I mean, is that enough? Is that enough? Maybe if this was 1 turn on the AoE, that would be better. Now, when fully boosted up, this actually does pretty good damage. She has decent, pretty good base attack for a Lego. And this ability can hit pretty hard. 300% extra damage, right? But without this boost, it's below average. So she really needs this boost to hit really, really hard. So she needs a setup. And without any ignore defense in her kit, she needs decreased defense. So she needs a little bit of setup. She needs the Hex, and then this move can maybe hit pretty hard. Does she have some use? Maybe as a damage dealer for Night Revs. There's going to be a lot better options than her usually. But I think people have tried to use her in a lot of cases, and then she can hit pretty hard. So I'm going to put her in the C tier as having some use. Probably ahead of Tanix. She can be like an AoE damage dealer perhaps with, one setup champion that lands decreased defense and Hex, but not not too many use cases for Thea here. All right, moving on from her, we have the next champion here on this list. It's going to be Undead Horde, Void legendary champion Euros the Soul Cage. Now, Euros the Soul Cage here is the next Doom Tower hard champion that you get after Thea. And I think Euros here is a lot more beneficial, right? Because passively, he lands poisons and increases his max HP. He also has a AoE here that has a little bit of control as well, and he does protect your team on 3-turn cooldown, strengthen, and ally protection. So you can use him to protect your team, you can use him to land poisons. He can protect himself with his shield. He does have a little bit of crowd control. So he has a lot going on in his kit. He has really good base stats as well. He's a little bit slow, but incredible base HP. And paired up with his passive makes him really, really hard to kill. And most recently, you know, he's used to solo some content, right? Like you can use him to solo Scarab King. You can use him to, you know, for example, we were using him to solo the event dungeon boss most recently. So I think he's definitely, you know, has a good kit, but whether it's super useful or not, really hard to say. Like he has a 3-turn A2, he's a 3-turn A3, very useful kit. But right now we don't have him used in too much content, but no doubt he is a good champion. It's just finding a lot of use for him. I would say he probably is at the edge of the good tier. He's a good champion, just overall not too many use cases, but definitely still very usable for a lot of people. All right, so after Euros the Soul Cage here, we have another legendary hard Doom Tower reward champion here, and it's going to be from the Orcs faction. Looking at the Spirit, Affinity, attack-based damage dealer, Varl the Destroyer. 1476 base attack. It's okay, not too bad. He is a damage dealing champion here. He's got an A1. He has a little bit of a heal here on a single target. He's got a 3-turn AoE weaken. Also places decreased attack who receive the weaken. So pretty good for a damage dealer to apply both of these. And then he has a big smack here on his A3. Ignore 30% of the target's defense. Destroy max HP as well. If he kills somebody, he places block damage on himself. There's a passive here that increases his attack each time they use an active skill up to 100%. So he has a passive damage boost, AoE weaken, big smack here, and then self-healing. It's actually a pretty decent champion. We use him quite a bit in Hydra teams, basically as a damage dealer that can apply weaken. That's really, really strong, right? Because now you don't have to rely on another champion, maybe a support champion that can land weaken. Now he can land weaken and pitch in damage as well. He's very good as a damage dealer for Hydra. Overall, a pretty good damage dealer overall. Definitely part of the good category, and honestly, very usable even into the late game. So I'm gonna put him in the A tier here. Very, very strong champion. So that's Varl the Destroyer. After Varl the Destroyer, next champion on the list is Vassal the Sealed. So Vassal the Sealed from the Demon Spawns here. Not him. It's gonna be him, Vassal of the Sealed. He is the 6th champion you get from Hard Doom Tower Secret Rooms. Let's check out his kit here real quick. His A1 places HP burn on the target for 2 turns if they are under True Fear debuff or a decreased attack debuff. Also places a shield on his champion equal to 10% of their max HP. So I don't really like this conditional HP burns. It's kind of weak, to be honest. He has a 3-turn A2 AoE attack, places fear and decreased attack. Now this could be useful. A little bit of CC, a little bit of decreased attack, which helps your team survive. And then he has a 4-turn A3. Balance the HP of all allies. The HP levels of all allies will be brought up to the level of the ally with the highest HP. After balancing, gain an extra turn. So yeah, effectively a 3-turn, and then you go into this. So he has a big heal here, team-wide heal, and then he has a bit of CC and control here. His passive, receive 20% less damage from champions. Okay, so from that alliance. If there are 2 or more demon spawn champions on the team alongside his champion, increase crit damage of all demon spawn champions on the team by 20%. So, you know, honestly, a decent support. I think I've used him maybe once in like a Centrano stage. So he has a big heal. He brings a bit of damage boost. He also brings some CC here, which is pretty good. Now his A1 doesn't really make too much of a difference. Like, you know, he doesn't really synergize off of HP burn or anything like that. He places a shield. But yeah, his A1's not going to be super great. And he's kind of a basic-ish champion, but has some use. So I'm going to put him in the has some use category, but definitely higher up in the has some use category here. And especially at the stage where you pick up Vassal the Seal, like it's going to be pretty late game. So a champion with such a basic kit is probably not going to be super, super helpful for you. So moving on from Vassal, we have day 270th, the last login champion that you get, at least in non-fragment form. And it's going to be from Dark Elves, Void Affinity, Visix, heralded as one of the worst legendaries to ever, one of the worst void legendaries to ever grace the void legendary tag until she got buffed. When she got buffed, she became very, very good. She got an A1 double hit turn meter reduction here, very good against Dark Fae, Fire Knight. Got 3-turn AoE decreased speed, ally protection, very solid, lots of places, good for Hydra as well. And then she has a 3-turn AoE provoke, and then she also places a bit of shield on herself. She's defense based, she's tanky, she's great for faction wars, great for Hydra, great for Dark Fae, Fire Knight, all sorts of stuff. Amazing champion, definitely worth it, especially if your roster is kind of thin. I would put her definitely in the good tier. Probably ahead of Helmet here. She's very, very good. She's very good, very useful in Hydra as well. So definitely give her a look. Don't underestimate Visix here. With that being said, coming off of Visix, we look towards our next champion, which is not very good. It's going to be from the Skinwalkers here, and it's going to be Yaga. So Yaga here is their day 60th champion, and he's not very good. He's an attack-based damage dealer. He has a chance to land poisons on his A1. He has a single target, double hit, chance to land poisons on his A2. He has a A3 here, single target again, damage increased by 25% against targets under poisons. So he's supposed to be a damage dealer, but honestly, he doesn't have a great chance to land poisons. Both of his abilities are very similar as well, his A1 and A2, and then he doesn't hit hard enough. 1365 on his base attack is not very good. He should just focus on landing poisons and not trying to be a damage dealer as well. Day 60. So if you guys have no better poisoner, maybe he can be useful. Maybe. Maybe you can save the books. Don't book him out and just use them for his A1 poisons, A2 poisons, and just use them to help you out in your clan boss. That's if you didn't pick Kale. Like if you pick Kale, you don't need this guy. So unless you're super desperate for a poisoner, Yaga probably goes into the vault or food. So Yaga, I would say, is very limited use, but he does have some use. So I'm going to put him there in the C tier. Moving on to Yakarl, our next champion in the list here. Yakarl is from the Barbarian faction. He's a Void Affinity champion. You get him by collecting his fragments from the clan shop. Now Yakarl, he is pretty special in that he doesn't require any books to land this freeze on his A3 if the targets have 75% or more turn meter, and he doesn't require any accuracy. Now this makes his kit have a very specific use, and it could be actually really, really strong. I mean, he has overall very good use anyways against hard Fire Knight. So he has a double hit here, can place freeze, so that reduces his turn meter. He also has decreased speed here, which is really good against the boss. And then he has this ability here that can help you clear the waves. He's supposed to be an attack-based damage dealer. He doesn't hit particularly hard or anything like that, but his freeze utility, the decreased speed, the multi-hits, the fact that you can use him without any books, without any accuracy for this freeze ability makes him really, really useful. And I would definitely put him in the good category, probably ahead of some of these other champions here. So ahead of Helmet, just because Yakarl can help you tackle some of the hardest content in the game, which is probably hard Fire Knight. So the next champion in this list here is Yannicka. So Yannicka is the other champion you can get from the clan shop where you buy her tokens or buy her fragments. She's from the High Elves. Now, Yannicka was very meta last year when she was doing the big shield damage. Basically, in those Hydra teams where you set the big shield, let the Hydra steal your shield, and then Yannicka would ignore those shields and deal big damage. Just those crazy teams. In terms of overall damage, she doesn't really provide too much damage. Base attack is okay, not particularly great. A1 leech here, does place a veil. Single target hit, and then has the AoE ignore shield here. She has a little bit of use. She's not particularly insane or anything like that. And for, high elves, she can be a damage dealer for you. But as far as legendary damage dealers go, she's not very great. But you know what? She's actually okay. So I'm going to put her in the okay category here. Not too bad, not too great, but she is okay. After Yannicka here, we do have another champion here from the Lizardman faction. He is, where is he? Force Affinity Z-Ichi here. He's the 7th free login champion. Well, not free login champion, sorry. Free champion from Doom Tower normal. So you have to collect her and all that. What is she about? She is a attack-based damage dealer. Has a chance for extra hit on the A1. Has a single target. Ignore shield, ignore block damage buffs. Place block damage on this champion for 1 turn. If it kills the enemy, it's on a 4-turn cooldown. And her A3 self buff crit damage, crit, and then increase attack on herself, and then into an extra turn. Her passive, whenever this champion kills an enemy, decrease the cooldown of Crown Breaker by 1 turn. Obviously, very damage dealer-esque kit. Problem with her is that her multipliers is just not very good, so she's not going to be killing many champions. Overall, like as a damage dealer, single target abilities are just not very good. And if you're not very good at doing damage and you can only hit single target, you're probably pretty useless. So for me, Ichi is pretty useless. So I'm going to say probably somewhere at the end here with Zion, but a pretty easy D tier champion here. And it's very unfortunate because, like I said, she comes pretty late in your progress level, so she's not going to be any help for you there. Now we are down to our last 2 champions here. Our 2 permanent fusion champions. We're going to start here with Lady Mikage. She is the permanent mythical champion. Lady Mikage is incredible. She's an incredible champion, one of the best champions. I would say one of the best champions in the game. She's definitely one of the best free champions you can acquire in the game. If you have no mythicals, she can be the mythical that you can get. Sorry, we're actually down to 3 champions here. We're going to talk about Lady Mikage. She's used in, you can use her in the hard Fire Knight. Use her against all bosses, clan boss, Hydra, Chimera. You can use her in Arena. Lots of versatile builds. You can build her in 9-piece protection. You can build her in Relentless. You can build her in Stone Skin. You can build her in random broken pieces. She works without books. She works with books. Yeah, she's just incredible. She got an A1 here, ally attack with the Shadowkin faction. So just pair her up with a crazy Shadowkin damage dealer, and then all her A1s, that champion will come in and attack with her. Also places a shield. She has a decreased duration with 3 turn on the A2 here as well. Also increased duration on all enemy buffs and ally buffs, so she can be a buff extender. And then of course this ally attack here is really good. Increased attack, crit damage, and then it's all in for 4 turn cooldown. And then she has this passive here, which is very, very nice. At the start of this champion's turn, removes all debuffs from the ally with the highest attack. So basically your damage dealer will always be able to attack, usually, that's the idea with her A1. And then once she transforms, she becomes a crowd control specialist. She has an A1 here, placing sleep with a turn meter pushback. It's just 100%. Of course, resistance happens and all that stuff. And then she has a 3-turn AoE stun with a turn meter pushback, very annoying. And then she has a increased accuracy and then a strip here on the 4-turn. Her passive, decrease the turn meter of the enemy with the highest attack by 15% at the start of the turn. So she's a crowd control engine on the 8 in her second form, and then she is a team support kind of damage dealing boosting champion on her base form here. Mainly used, I think, for PvE, for boss content, paired up with Toshiro, Ninja, Ieyasu, those type of things, just to do some insane boss damage. She's an incredible champion, easily S tier wherever she ends up. I think she's probably going to end up somewhere around Lydia, but less than Lamasu. I think Lamasu gets used equally as much in PvE, but more so in PvP, and she's very good in both roles. Mikage, a little bit less useful in Arena nowadays, but that doesn't mean she can't be used, to be honest. She's still extremely good. All right, let's move on to our second permanent fusion here, and we have Rosin from the Lizardmen. So Rosin, very old champion, very poor base speed, which is probably the biggest gripe. He needs plus 10 base speed and probably 100 more defense, but it doesn't really matter, and then he needs this ability to have a rework here. This should be on a 4-turn cooldown. It's on a 6-turn cooldown, which makes no damn sense. He has a single target, 3-turn, decreased defense, and weaken, good against clan boss. And an A1 here that has a chance to remove a random buff. Now he can hit pretty hard. He can hit pretty decent if you gear him to do so. And of course he provides the decreased defense and weaken, generally used against clan boss. And then I guess this can be useful, but this needs a buff, right? This needs to be down to 4 turns, and then it could be more useful. But 6-turn here, not very good. Razin definitely fell off over the years. He's still okay, and I think he's still probably going to be in the okay category here, so I'm going to put him in the B tier as okay, but he's definitely fallen off quite a bit. And then our last champion on the list is going to be from the Demon Spawn here. He is the champion you get from Centranos City, from the Demon Spawn mythical champion, Carnage the Anarch. Very good champion here. He is basically free, but you do have to work pretty hard to get him from Centranos. He's a damage dealer. He brings a lot of crowd control. He brings a lot of disable abilities. He has an A1, chance to remove random buff, which goes crazy because he has a lot of counterattack in his kit as well. So he counterattacks a bunch with his A1. is an A2 here where he swaps your HP, steals your stuff, and then places a seal debuff on you. Seal basically just shuts down like masteries, and then the debuff cannot be resisted or blocked if target has 50% or less HP. His A3 here, block passive skills. Very, very powerful ability. This debuff cannot be removed. Very powerful ability. Second hit places block active skills, and it cannot be removed as well. And then the third steals all your turn meter. It's a very, very annoying, very powerful ability here on his A3. He's bringing the massive speed in arena as well, 33% higher than Arbiter. Each hit this champion deals has a 50% chance of placing debuff spread. That's just a passive ability on him. Very insane. And of course, if he kills somebody, 100% chance of placing the debuff spread. So huge disabling champion, very, very tough to deal with sometimes, especially if you don't have block debuffs. And like I said, the debuffs are protected, so you can't actually cleanse them off. His second form here is going to be a damage dealing form. He has a heal on his A1. He has ignore shields, AoE on his A2 that also ignores ally protection, and unkillable under some conditions here, depending if they have debuffs. And then his A3 here is a double hit AoE. He'll place block revive if they have a lot of debuffs on them, and it also heals him up. His passive here, self-boosting, crit damage, and then ignore defense as well for each debuff they're under. He can absolutely smack. He has the highest base attack in the game, 1960, which is absolutely insane. He can absolutely attack with all these boosts in his kit. He's shown that he can do quite a bit of damage in Hydra against bosses as well with all his counterattacks. How does he fit in? I think he's clearly an S tier champion. He's great in arena. He can be used in PvP as well, but I think he's mostly an arena specialist, especially with his base form. So I think I'm going to put him under the Mythra here. Obviously, he's a super late game champion. You're not going to pick him up very early. And at the time when you're super late game, he's going to be really good for you, but he might not be the best champion for you. I'm going to put him in here somewhere around Mythra, somewhere probably maybe just below Mythra, I think, but definitely deserving of the S tier status. All right, guys, there it is. This is the final tier list. Thank you guys for staying until the end if you guys are still here. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this overall tier list. I try to be as objective as possible, also providing my own experiences with using these own champions. I also put a little bit of weight of when you picked up the champion. So if you can get the champion relatively early and they're really good, then they're obviously going to be very, very powerful. Once again, if you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, and comment on the video. We'd really appreciate that. Thank you guys for watching until the end. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one.